Warning: the following program contains adult language, adult themes, and spoilers. Viewer discretion is advised.
In the not too distant future, next Sunday AD, there was a guy named Joel, not too different from you or me. He worked at Gizmonic Institute, just another face in a red jumpsuit. He did a good job cleaning up the place, but his boss didn't like him, so they shot him into space.
Good evening, and welcome to this week's episode of This Week's Episode. It's the week of April 1st, 2021. This is episode 228, and I am your host, Kris Randazzo. Joining me tonight, as always, is Snore Master of Tralfalcamore, Karen Randazzo.
McLeod!
Smuckers, Raspberry Preserve, Angie Fernot.
I wish I had gone blind.
And good, he's the best, Evan Goldstein.
Huzzah!
Tonight, I subjected my fellow Twepcasters to one of my all-time favorite episodes of Mystery Science Theater 3000. It has nothing to do with pods, it has nothing to do with people, it has everything to do with hurting. How do they enjoy it? Will this be my final episode as they eject me into space in an escape pod hidden in a box of hamdingers? Let's find out. Guys, how's it going?
I just had one question. What was that swamp thing at the beginning?
No, we can't talk. Okay, this is the thing, guys. All I want to do
swamp
today
thing versus the sweet thing.
Right? I'm gonna be honest with you, for the first time, maybe as long as I've been doing this podcast, as if it's been that long, I really just want to talk about the episode. Like, I really do. There's so much to unpack here.
We can't do that, though,
No.
because we got information at the beginning of the week that made all of us tickled.
Yes.
So.
And dear listeners, we really do this for you. So you're welcome.
Well, let's have it. What's going on? What's new? What's cooking? What's happening? What's piping?
What have you been watching, honey?
Wait. I'm so not ready for this. I thought
right,
you
so-
listed everything.
so
I
What's the
don't
news
watch
you're
television.
talking about?
Yeah.
Well,
Spill the beans,
you
biatch.
had made reference to your weekly pick. And then for your family's enjoyment. And then I got, so a bunch of years ago, when I first realized the nefarious means of acquiring video content, I made a present for what was my girlfriend's nephew. And technically
like this massive hard drive filled with every kid's cartoon you could find. I remember that.
the babysitter, the ultimate babysitter 3000 is what I called it. Mm-hmm. And I put every thing or video that I thought a child should watch. And as soon as Kris told me, or it came up in conversation, I got excited again just to watch those television shows and those cartoons that, like, I feel every kid should watch. Now, some may be like a little too grown up for my nephew. Like, he barely gets, any sort of context of cartoons. It's Dora the Explorer and this Peppa Pig and whatnot. But I'm waiting for when it's time for Batman the Animated Series and the Superman adventures. Like, those are the cartoons that kids should watch.
Ooh, hard interrupt. I found out this week that one of my viewers on Twitch introduced his kid to gargoyles at age 8. I was so proud.
That's the stuff I'm talking about. So, like, when you guys made comment about, I don't even, what is it? New Frontier? What was your pick?
World's Finest.
World's Finest. The Batman Superman movie that was basically 3 episodes of the Superman animated series that they squished together, where Batman and Superman first meet in the Bruce Timmverse.
So happy to hear that. And, like, I've been waiting to find out, like, all the details about how the kids interacted with it and how they enjoyed it, and living vicariously through them.
Preface this by saying we finished Dragon Prince.
Okay.
And then tried to let me have a pick. I said, "Oh, this new kids thing just came out on Netflix. Why don't we watch one and see if you guys like it? And if you don't, no big deal, but whatever." So we watched the first episode of Waffles and Mochi.
How was that?
Yeah,
Waffles and Mochi. Okay. It's a kids show about food.
Yeah.
which I thought would be good for my kids because my daughter likes to cook and my son needs to try more foods. It's done by the Obama's production company, and Mrs. Obama is sort of the host of it. It's about these two puppet characters who live in a freezer their whole life, but they love to cook. And then one day they stow away in a delivery truck and end up in a grocery store where there's all this fresh food they've never seen before because they live in a freezer. And there's a garden on the roof, and that's where Mrs. O, who owns the store, usually works, and she's going to give them a job every time. And Waffles is the child of a waffle and a Yeti. He's
what?
He's like a furry looking character, but he has waffles for ears and one on his belly. And then Mochi is this little strawberry mochi, just pink, blob the size of your hand.
Okay.
Well,
And they just go around. It's kind of like Sesame Street, variety type of way, where they have live segments with chefs, they have animated segments, they have puppet segments, and they teach kids about healthy foods.
is mochi actually the Japanese? Does it look like a Japanese mochi?
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay, that's so cute.
it is super cute because all it does is meep.
Okay.
It doesn't speak, it just meeps. And it's a super cute show that my kids did not like.
Oh.
John said it was okay. Ellie did not like it.
Wow. Really?
So, yeah.
I'm kind of surprised by that.
I mean, it was sort of just not their jam. It was a little too teachy and not fun enough, I guess.
So I'm doing
Too educational?
a Google search, and I see with Jack Black was on it, and
I guess they was in a further episode that we didn't see.
it just seems like who's the guy from crazy Between Two Ferns.
Zach Galifianakis.
Yes, there's an image here of Zach Galifianakis, Michelle Obama, and Waffles, and he's
Awesome.
that's okay.
It's a cute show, but my kids didn't go for it, but maybe other people's kids would. So when they didn't go for that, since we've been playing Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 with the kids, they've been digging on the superheroes. So we decided to turn them loose on the other side of the superhero spectrum and show them Justice League. So we didn't dive into Batman or Superman first. We went straight into Justice League.
Mostly because Wonder Woman.
Because
Ellie
Wonder Woman.
really
Ellie
likes
is
Wonder Woman.
obsessed.
Yeah, she
and
does.
John really likes Flash. And
So the Justice League cartoon.
Yeah.
yes, we went right to the Justice League cartoon that came out of.
I figured you
You
were
know.
better parents than subjecting them to Zack Snyder's Justice League.
God, how dare you?
It was an interesting week, though, the week that he was taking back the Snyder Cut in small chunks, and then we were starting to watch the Justice League cartoon with the kids. He was just nonstop Justice League.
Yeah, two very different versions of it.
Yeah.
And so for my movie night pick, we finished the first couple episodes of Justice League, and then I was like, you know what we should do? We should go back and show how Batman and Superman met. Because in the first episode of Justice League, Batman and Superman know each other, and then they meet everyone else.
Right.
And I was like, you know, it would be cool. Let's go back here. Let's give them a good introduction to the Joker and Lex Luthor, and have a ball. And it was really cool. They both liked it. I loved watching it again. It's fun how much of it I can recite from memory, and because it's technically a movie, but it's also technically 3 episodes of a TV show cut together as a movie, which is it's so good. There's so many good lines in there, but I distinctly remember sitting there watching it, and you get to a scene earlier on when Batman and Superman start working together, and Superman's like, Luthor started lining his buildings with lead so I can't use my X-ray vision, and then 15 minutes later he's fighting this robot that's got kryptonite attached to it, and it's weakening him, and it picks up a door and smashes him with it, and then Superman picks it up, and he's like, lead-lined doors, I'll have to remember to thank Luthor. And the first thought that came into my head is, this is more clever than anything in all 4 hours of the Snyder Cut.
Well,
And I don't mean that as a dig. I mean, for real, this was more clever and more well-written than anything in that entire movie. And that is really sad.
It's
Yeah.
true. The best line that came out of that movie was, "This is Alfred. I work for him."
Yes, that was a great
was it.
line.
Yeah.
Everything else, not so much.
Yeah. I mean, we can dive down that rabbit hole if you want, but so far so good on Justice League. The original Justice League cartoon doesn't start out fantastic. Like it's decent, but it gets so much better. And right now, like the second story arc is the trial of Green Lantern, and it's like, oh boy,
Oh yeah,
they're
that
really
gets
just
heavy
like
quick.
they're not hitting us with too many like really good things off the bat. Like, all right, now we're in courtroom drama on the other side of the universe with Green Lantern who's being all emo and stuff. Okay, well, the kids are sticking with it, so we're happy. And knowing how good it's going to get from here and how many awesome things are coming, like I just can't wait for them to meet Darkseid and like,
Yes.
just.
Yeah, I foresee him taking on like an obsession with the Justice League, like he currently has with like Metroid.
Yeah, I think the mythology of this is really gonna hit home with him, because he's also, so we've been playing all the Metroid video games, but we're also playing Us Together, the Marvel Ultimate Alliance game, and he's picking up on all this stuff from the Marvel games, and he's like he's more obsessed with Metroid, but he keeps like peppering in bits of Marvel Ultimate Alliance in there. Like, so we're going to fight the Queen Metroid and Mother Brain and Ultron. It's like, okay. Like, who would win in a fight, an Omega Metroid or Ant-Man?
Aww.
No.
That is literally him saying, "I am your child. I am your child. I am your child."
I was going to say, how proud are you?
Meanwhile, Marvel Ultimate Alliance is how Ellie has adopted a new favorite superhero named Deadpool.
Oh, no.
Which surprises no one on this podcast.
Right. Obviously, the language is not there in the game, and like the violence is no more than any other character in the game. So like she doesn't really get Deadpool, but the flavor of the character is there. He's making tacos when he shows up in the game, and
Yeah,
Now I
his
just-
reason for joining the Alliance in the game is that Juggernaut was attacking the X-Mansion, where Deadpool happened to be prepping for a Taco Tuesday, and Juggernaut ruined Taco Tuesday, and therefore he has joined the Alliance to avenge Taco Tuesday.
Like you do.
Makes sense to me.
and now all I want is a Deadpool riding a unicorn shirt to fit my 4-year-old child, and
I'm
doesn't
on it.
exist. I mean, come on, guys.
We can make that happen. That's absolutely possible.
Yeah.
So much of that story makes me happy.
You realize you just talked to the unicorn queen here, right? Like, you want
She's going to
Deadpool
draw
and a
that
unicorn.
tomorrow.
Yes, I might do it right now.
She's probably in the process of it. I hear a pencil moving currently. So
I'm furiously sketching.
So it's been pretty neat because these have been really good entry points to the world of superheroes for the kids. I mean, we have like the 5-minute stories and a couple of golden books, but for the most part, a lot of the media that's out there for the kids their age is a lot of Lego and whatnot. And Marvel 3 is very comic booky. Like, it's got a lot of movie trappings as far as like the soundtrack and stuff goes, but the story is so comic book. And like Golden Age comic book, they're not getting super heady with stuff. They're talking like old school comic book characters, and it's really fun to just blast through and show them an introduction of like what these characters are and what they do and how interesting they are. And then Justice League and whatnot, I mean, we can always go back to Batman the animated series and Superman the animated series. Like that's not a problem. I think Justice League is a perfectly fine place to start because it's not like there is kind of a through line, but really the only thing they're ever going to properly harken back to is an episode of the Superman animated series, which, you know, it's fine if they don't have that in their heads when we get there in Justice League, because it's a throwback, but it's not like an essential, like, you need to have watched this for it to make sense kind of a thing.
they didn't do that with the cartoons. My favorite thing about the Justice League cartoon is when they went unlimited and they introduced so many characters. Like, things that you will never see even on a CW show. Like, it's
like
fantastic.
they really did some deep cuts, and they did it, and they did them all beautifully. That whole cartoon is so good, and I can't wait I just can't wait to keep going with it. I can't wait to get through like season 1 of Justice League, because it's not. I know these first handful of episodes, and I just don't remember liking them all that much. Like, they're fine, but they're not the really cool stuff. We're not getting to see the characters really use their powers in interesting ways and work together and whatnot. It's just very like the beginning of the Jon Stewart one. Martian Manhunter gets zapped, and John's like, boy, that guy gets zapped all the time. Like, what does he do? And like, because in the first episode, they're like, he's our only hope. And then he just gets beat up and knocked unconscious like over and over again. And then they finally showed him kick some ass in the episode we watched after he got electrocuted and knocked out of the fight for one time. And then he came back and kicked some butt. I was like, see, he can do cool things. They just knock him out all the time.
Right.
Because, I don't know, reasons.
Because
otherwise the fight would be over in 5 seconds.
And that's one of the things that the show does really well, is they play with the fact that, like, sure, Superman feels pain, but he's basically invulnerable. But he gets like knocked out of fights like all the time, and he struggles to do things. Like, yeah, but he's Superman, so this fight's effectively over.
Yeah, we all know how it's supposed to end. So
yeah, he's Superman.
Also, the kids have really taken to my interpretation of the Justice League cartoon theme.
Right, yes. Long time ago, when Karen and I watched Justice League together, which, I mean, how could I not marry this woman? I was like, we should watch this Justice League cartoon. It's really good. And she actually like went for it. She must have really liked me. But we watched it, and we watched like some of the Superman cartoon, and we watched Justice League Unlimited, and she made up lyrics to them, this theme song.
Excellent.
Oh, that has to be recorded.
And now we're
at some
not
point in
allowed
time.
to watch an episode like without me singing it. Like, Mommy, can you sing the song?
Like she wasn't going to anyway.
Very good. Nice.
I love that so much.
That it's absolutely fantastic to hear that the kids are getting a proper introduction to.
Let's put it right, okay? The kids are getting a proper cartoon education. That's what's happening,
true.
because they have good parents, and this makes me proud.
I mean,
I'm so proud
would you
to know
expect
you.
anything less from us?
Yes, because Kris still likes things like the original Thundercats.
Don't you? What?
So,
Don't
but
knock
this-
the Thundercats.
Hold on. And there are that era of cartoons for us. When we go back to some of them, we fondly remember them, but we should leave that information in the past. Okay, so for every original Thundercats, there is, I don't know what, the original Voltron.
Yeah?
Some of the stuff does not age as well as others. And I know me, when I have the proper mind to mold, like my little nephew, I'm going to show him everything, be damned. I don't care whether it's good or bad or not. I watched it. You're going to watch it too, and you're going to love it as much as I did. God damn it.
See?
Where are
Yes.
you
Spoken
getting
like
me-
a person who does not have kids yet.
Where are you getting me being a fan of the original Thundercats, though?
It was just a random pick. I remember us having
I'm not
conversation.
really much of a Thundercats guy. Never have been.
Well, was it Voltron that we both tried to watch again and went, oh no.
Well, we both watched the original Thundercats again, like when they started airing it on Cartoon Network, and I watched like 15 minutes of an episode and was like,
And
Hard pass.
then like
we were idiots. That's not.
that's my point. That's what I'm saying. Like, we have that fond memory of enjoying it back then.
Yeah, it's like the original Voltron. Like, I tried watching that again, and I'm not going to keep doing that because there's still like flavors of cool in there. Don't get me wrong, but like, boo, it's
Oh, boo.
Room for improvement.
that ain't great.
No. It's just it should be left for what it was when it was. That's
Yeah, they've made better things to show our children at this point. And when it comes time to show my kids Voltron, I'll be showing them the newer Netflix Voltron. I showed John a little bit of Gen 1 Transformers because while that's not great, it is decently better. It's still technically watchable. It's decently better than the other stuff like Thundercats and
Did you show the movie?
Will you show your children Captain Planet?
No, I never really was into that to begin with. So
The only Captain Planet thing I liked was that
the Don Cheadle one.
Don Cheadle version.
Yeah.
You're a tree. You're a tree.
Anywho. Let's see. What else? Karen, did you have more to discuss?
I finished Dickinson season 2. It was good. It did one surprising thing, which was the guy, the Danny Rand character.
Sorry.
There was the guy who plays Danny Rand from Iron Fist was on season 2, and he played the publisher who was going to publish Emily Dickinson's poems. And like, I guess predictably in this kind of situation, Emily kind of develops feelings for him, and you think that he's going to be like a sleaze, and like there are rumors about him that every woman he like works with, he sleeps with, even though he's married. And then, like, heel turn in the middle of the season, it turns out that he's actually uncomfortable with the way that Emily is treating him, and he loves his wife, and all these rumors just happen because, because he's taken an interest in these women, so people just make assumptions, and he's actually faithful, which I was like, I didn't expect that. I thought he was just going to turn out to be a sleazebag, because that's what I think about men when I watch TV now. And then it turned again, where it turned out that he wasn't going to cheat on his wife with Emily, but he was going to cheat on his wife with Emily's best friend.
Oh, great.
There you go.
Yes. So that was,
Actually,
yeah.
I'm going to say I do kind of like that they messed with your head a little there.
They did. The show does a good job of subverting expectations, in a way. And there was some really funny stuff with her mother this season, and just a good time. And then I finished that, and I had enough time to be true to my word, Angie, and I binged all of Firefly Lane.
Okay, tell me everything.
I love that noise you just made. It was outstanding. It was great.
Mm-hmm. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry for the end. I couldn't tell you.
Forget about the end. I could have used a trigger warning about the friggin' golden retriever.
Oh yeah, that. Yeah. Okay.
They
that,
had a family dog that they had to put down because it was, 15 or something. And,
Oh, wait a minute.
And I'm
Come
sitting
on.
there watching it next to my golden retriever going,
You
"Ooh,
just
ooh, ooh."
got the golden retriever. Easy.
You just got
Still
her,
new.
and I'm
Okay.
not.
I understand that, but she's going to die someday.
Well, okay. So
And
does
the kids
every
are going
dog.
to be
So is
roughly
Owen.
that kid's age.
That's fair.
Anyway, I don't blame you. It
I
just
blocked
like,
it
what
out.
the
I'm
hell,
not gonna
man?
lie. I definitely blocked it out.
Why did they have to choose the same breed of dog that I have?
Because it's a great breed.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm like reaching out to other people I know have watched the show. Like, did you read the book? Is there like the rest of the story in the book? Because there are a couple big unanswered questions in the season finale. And I'm like, is there going to be a season 2? Do we get to find this out? Or is this just no? Because what the hell?
Yeah. Yeah. It's so for anybody who's like, what are you talking about? So the show had a horrible cliffhanger of an ending. And this whole show has been about their friendship and how they've persevered through the years and they can overcome anything. And the end of the show is making you question. So, yeah, that was really rough, but I'm super glad that someone else has now watched it and enjoyed it as much as I did. I absolutely loved that show. I'm curious to know what you thought about the characters themselves, though, like as they were written.
You mean Tully and Kate?
Yes.
Or... Okay. So yeah, Tully and Kate are the two like best friend characters. They grew up across the street from each other, became friends when they were teenagers, and like stayed friends their whole lives into their 40s, I guess. I thought there was two really interesting and different ways. Like the show did overall a really good job of portraying the female experience in all its like different and horrible iterations. And the way those two were so different but still friends allowed the show to show like a whole spectrum of things that happen to people and expectations for like what motherhood is going to be like versus what it is like, and the way relationships can go, you know, and friendships and career stuff and misogyny and just they just threw it all in there. It was
But
like,
I felt like they handled it in a way that it was so gracefully done that it doesn't feel like you're being thrown. Like Evan and I, when we watch stuff, we often refer to, oh, they're checking boxes. I didn't feel like this was checking boxes. I felt like this was, I'm writing a story, and these are just things that organically occur in this story. And
oh yeah.
they feel so real. And so one of the things, for anyone who hasn't seen the show, the two characters are, like Karen said, very different. So Tully's this very successful, famous person who everyone sees as this confident, almost like, think Ellen, Oprah, I don't know, anybody famous who has a talk show and everybody idolizes. And she actually is very lonely and isolated and unfulfilled, and the only person she's ever really trusted and been able to have a long-term close relationship to is her best friend. It's crazy the way that they show like how she seems to be this warm person who's in the spotlight, and she's living this life of like absolute misery, but at the same time like she's scared to leave it and doesn't know who she is without it. So I really thought that the way that they wrote her really touched on, I think, the complexity of women who want to feel strong, powerful, independent, successful, fierce, and just be absolute go-getters, because that's who this character is, and how even achieving all of those things, you can feel the absence of loneliness, warmth, success, power, etc. So I really love that. And I had a friend growing up who unfortunately passed away, and she reminds me so much of this character. Like I really related to the relationship between these two women because I was very much more able to relate to the Kate aspect of the teenage versions of them. And I had a woman like that who was just a force of nature. She was, you know, she was so amazing and powerful and incredible. And like to see this woman realize, like in her 40s, I'm like, that would have been her. That would have been my friend. But yeah, I just think it does a really good job of capturing the complexities, but the true, like, boundless love that you can have for a best friend.
Oh, absolutely. And I get what you're saying about it not ticking boxes. It was totally felt authentic, not like we're going to show you because, you know, we need to put these things into our show. It was because these are things that actually happen to women in these positions. Like, you know, the way they were treated at work, or, you know, the way, like, Tully had her date with the kid at the keg party and then, you know, was sexually assaulted in the woods. And then everybody at school turned around and called her a slut. Like, how was she going to win that one? But that happens to so many people. And even I really appreciated the way they weaved in their mothers. And like, another show might have just painted it as like, oh, these are terrible mothers. But like, the show kind of gave enough depth to those characters to say, okay, they're terrible, but this is why they're terrible. Like, and they had terrible childhoods too.
I didn't even think that their mothers were, well, I mean, no.
Cloud's pretty terrible.
Cloud's, yeah.
Kate's mother wasn't, she was like
flawed.
Quietly terrible.
I just felt like she was a real human, like, woman in a marriage where she was frustrated and disconnected from her husband, and you know, like the 25 plus years of marriage thing, like, yeah, it was not without its complexities. And the husband, like, he knew, and he acknowledged it. And he just, like, it just kind of shows, like, especially because a lot of the flashbacks in the show occur in the 80s, like, it just felt so on point for exactly how a man and woman would have had their marriage run in the 80s, like the relationship that they would have had. And I feel like her mother really did try to be loving and caring and kind and open, and to her daughter, but I feel as though like she had her own struggles, and her marital struggles are the thing that I felt were the thing that made her look as though she was not a good parent. But I never really felt like she wasn't. I'll be honest. I thought that she was a really good mom overall.
It was less that she like Cloud was a like actively terrible mother.
Oh yeah, Cloud fucking sucked.
But Margie was not. She was passively terrible. Like there was the the thing with her cheating on her husband, where I guess that's just what happened in those times. People got divorced less, and like divorce was still like a big stigma. And being a single woman would have, with kids, a divorced woman with kids would have been a much more of a stigma then. But also like just little things like she kind of saw Kate as like perfect all the time, and you want to be a good girl, you want to get good grades, you want to like meet a nice boy, and like she didn't really see her daughter for who she was all the time. She loved her for sure, but she kind of held that, I guess, that expectation of what a family should look like a little higher than what her what was actually going on in her family. Like her
That's so interesting.
son never felt comfortable coming out to her.
Yeah. I actually did not catch on to that aspect of it, and it makes me want to go back and rewatch it, which I have absolutely no problem doing.
It was pretty great. I'm actually probably gonna be seeking out the book to see what happens, because I don't think I can wait to find out if there is even going to be a season 2 and then for them to make it.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I'm in the same page there. I'm on the same page. Book puns.
Book.
Yes. Okay,
Yeah.
sorry. I could keep going, but yeah. I'm really grateful. Thank you for watching it.
Oh, I really wanted to. It was on my list, so I'm glad your having seen it made me tag it on. Anyway, boys, we've had enough girl talk.
Well, I had one other thing that I actually got to, that I was very happy to get to, at least the first episode of, which was Playing with Power. This is the Nintendo documentary on Crackle.
How do you find these things?
I mean,
I know
all
you're not
Nintendo
surfing.
news is automatically filtered to him. Like, come on.
I just like the
Yeah.
way you say crackle.
This one in particular was interesting because, I mean, I'd heard about the documentary, and then I had to seek out where it was. Like, somebody's doing an actual in-depth documentary on the history of Nintendo, and that comes with a certain amount of expectations. It's probably going to be like, Nintendo was founded a long time ago, then they made some toys, now let's talk about the NES and Mario, and then really focus on the current years. But the first episode, after I tracked down, it was on Crackle, which is apparently a service that's free that you can download and then watch these things for free with commercials. So that was neat. It was executive produced and narrated by Sean Astin, and they talked to all manner of people, particularly Howard Phillips, who was kind of like the face of Nintendo way back when the NES launched. He was this goofy dude in a bow tie who worked in the warehouse, who was this kind of eccentric game master type guy who made a lot of decisions for Nintendo of America because he was one of the like 6 people who worked for the company. But contrary to my expectations, the first episode wound up being, I think, like an hour and a half long, which was longer than I expected it to be. I thought maybe I was watching a bunch of episodes tied together because there are all these different chapters, but then I looked at it, I was like, no, that was the first episode. And it went all the way back to the formation of the company in September 23rd, 1889. And talking about how Nintendo existed. Was that
1889?
Yeah, Nintendo started in feudal Japan, making playing cards. Where
wow, I really wait.
I thought you thought the same thing, that he then went sarcastic.
Yeah.
No, this is true.
This is true. They started back in 1889 as a playing card company, and they weren't allowed to use. You weren't allowed to have regular playing cards in Japan back then with like numbers and suits and stuff because it was tied to gambling, and that was pretty well outlawed in Japan. So Nintendo started by I forget the guy's first name, but it was the first Yamauchi to run the company, who founded it. I wish I could remember his name.
Steve.
Let's call him Steve. Steve Yamauchi. He invented a new card game called Hanafuda, which basically used pictures of the seasons and flowers instead of suits and numbers, which was a way of basically skirting the law. And the cards were a pretty big success, and they went into all that stuff, which was really cool to see, because they interviewed people like Kris who have old Hanafuda cards that were made of paper before they wound up being made of plastic. And Nintendo eventually, when those laws got lifted, Nintendo was the first company to make plastic playing cards, like the ones that you buy now. And,
oh my God, I have a set of these.
Nintendo playing cards? Or
Hanafuda cards?
Yeah, you can still buy them. They still make them. If you go to like a store, like a corner store in Japan, you can buy Nintendo Hanafuda cards and Nintendo playing cards.
They're so teeny tiny too. They're smaller than regular playing cards.
Yeah, they're pretty small. I have a couple of sets myself. They're really neat. I don't know how to play the game, but they're super cool. So they really went all in on this, and I every time I expected them to just jump straight ahead to video games, they wouldn't. I mean, there was kind of a decent gap towards the beginning where they're like, well, nothing really happened for like 50 years because Nintendo just made playing cards. Not a lot of cool stuff happening, but then I think this was around when Hiroshi Yamauchi took over I think he was 23 when he took over the company. He was the one who decided that the company needed to start expanding, and just making playing cards was not going to be enough. And he brokered a deal with Disney to be the first company to license Disney's characters for playing cards. And so that wound up taking off huge, and that got them into inventing toys and stuff with a guy named Gunpei Yokoi, who was just this, he was a factory worker, and in his spare time, he used spare parts from the machines to make this little hand grabber thing. You ever see one of those things that looks like almost like an accordion, where you push them together and the hand extends out on the end? Mm-hmm. That was invented by Gunpei Yokoi by Nintendo, and they marketed it. The president of the company discovered him doing that in like his off hours, and like, this is a product now. You're going to make this, and they did. And it was called the Ultra Hand, and how that transitioned into them being a toy maker, and then into being like a board game maker, and then transitioned into like old school arcade type of stuff. Like, there was a live action Wild Gunman thing where you'd like shoot a light gun, and a video would show like a cowboy getting hit or something like that. And the episode ended right when they were getting into the NES. So I was really impressed by it. It's very, very well done. It tells a lot of it through miniatures, since there's not a lot of actual photography of the things that happened way back then. So they build all these little, like, this is what the building looked like, and this is what people were probably doing on the street, and it's all built with these like really cool looking miniatures, and they shoot it like these still shots of that. It's very well put together, and they have interviews with all sorts of people, including 3 people that we've interviewed on the Stone Age Gamer podcast.
Nice.
Tommy Tallarico, Brett Weiss, and Leonard Herman. So
nice. So you're saying Sean Austin is the
yeah.
host?
Sean Astin is the narrator.
And is he talking directly to you? Is he using your proper first name as he's doing this? Because this is for you.
It is very for me. It's pretty cour I definitely like it. I definitely would recommend it. So far, I'm very impressed by it. That it's been an entire hour and a half, or however long it was, on the actual ancient history of Nintendo, I thought was really cool, because the thing about Nintendo is that they're an extraordinarily secretive company, and even their earliest video games are kind of mysterious, like, because they were failures. They had some decent video games, like arcade games, but before Donkey Kong hit, like, they made this game called Radar Scope, which is just a full-on ripoff of Space Invaders, which is, most of their games at the time were not creative in the least. They were ripoffs of Breakout and Pong and stuff. Mm-hmm. And so they had this game that was a ripoff of Space Invaders called Radar Scope, and it was a pretty decent hit in Japan. and they sent it over to America, and they were like, all right, here it is, let's do this thing. But American audiences were like, the hell do I care if there's another Space Invaders clone? And so nobody played it. The game was a miserable failure. And so that's when they went back to Japan. Howard Lincoln was like, Howard Phillips. Lincoln was one of their lawyers. Howard Phillips was like, so this game's not selling. We need something else. And so Nintendo went to all of their lead programmers, but they were all busy. They were all working on like the next big ripoff game for Nintendo. So they went all the way down to the bottom of the totem pole on one of the designers who used to draw stuff on the sides of cabinets. And they said, you need to make a game that we can put in America. And that happened to be Shigeru Miyamoto, who invented Donkey Kong. And he invented it as a conversion kit for the radar scope. So instead of like, here's a whole new machine, because they already had all the machines, they were like, slap some new artwork on the side and take the chips out on the inside and replace it with this. So you can just convert these existing cabinets to this new game. And then everyone was scared, like, how are we going to market a game called Donkey Kong? Even by video game standards, that's ridiculous. But, you know, I know I just summarized the whole episode, but, you know, you should still watch it. It's very good. They do a better job of explaining it than I do.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, I really look forward to watching more of this. I love seeing anything, especially on Nintendo's pre-NES history. Like, the stuff that I didn't live through, I'm always fascinated to see. And I'm also always fascinated to see different perspectives on the stuff that I did live through, because it's always fun seeing, like, anything that Howard Phillips talks about is fascinating, because, you know, he was just this dude in the warehouse that wound up being the face of Nintendo in America for years and years and years. And all this very unique, like, one-off stuff, weird off-brand looking products and merchandise, and it's all so fascinating to me. So, and it's not ignoring other history either. Like, there was lots of interviews with, like, Nolan Bushnell. They had a whole thing on Ralph Baer, who was the guy who effectively invented the concept of home video games. Mm-hmm. It was really, really cool that they went and touched on all the stuff like Atari and why. They don't just tell you that these things are important. They explain why they're important. And that's the sign of a good documentary. So
it's a video game documentary that highlights specifically Nintendo, but it's giving you background on a lot of other aspects as well.
Yeah, like the YouTube series that I obsessively watch, Jeremy Parish's VideoWorks series. He focused everything on Nintendo at first, and that's always going to be the focus of his series, where he goes through game by game and does a complete documentary style history on every single game released for these platforms. But he's now decided to go back and do these other mini episodes that talk about, like, well, we're doing Game Boy works, right? So we're talking about all of the games released on the Game Boy, but you can't really understand why these things were so impressive if you don't know what was also coming out on the Atari Lynx and the Sega Game Gear at the time, because you have to understand the bigger picture. It's not just in a vacuum of just the releases that were coming out for Game Boy. You have to look at it as, if a real historical perspective, you have to look at the world at that time.
Right.
And so when you flesh out that kind of stuff and do it in such an intelligent manner, I'm very impressed. So far, of all the gaming documentary series that have been popping up, which I've enjoyed, I don't even remember the name of the last one I talked about on this show that Karen watched most of with me. But this one was very, very cool. I liked it a lot.
Cool.
So what about you, Evan?
Well, I'm still slogging through Last Man Standing because I can't stop. I see too much of
won't stop.
I see too much of mine and Angela's relationship in the show, which is it's really weird to say. I'm
totally the Tim Allen character.
It's so true. And so the other day I felt this need to watch the girl, the actress from Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist.
You're talking about not Suburbia, but
Suburgatory.
Suburgatory, yeah.
Which it's a show that she is the lead actress in it. It's about, this Manhattan father and daughter move to suburbia, and it's her, and this woman has not aged at all in the 10 years that has passed. Very entertaining. Angela and I sat down to watch that for a minute. We caught up with Resident Alien and laugh and laugh and laugh.
God, where are we on that? We're
6 or 7 episodes.
Karen's been getting ridiculously sleepy at night, so she fell asleep during the last episode we were
Yeah,
watching.
I fell
was
asleep
like,
in the middle of episode
and
7.
I'm like ratcheted by it. Like,
Yeah.
come on.
Yeah.
I want to know what's happening. And then like she's asleep. I'm like, oh, we got to stop. She's missing too much stuff.
We
like
made
it was
it,
the
we made it
episode
to
where
7, episode 7. But I don't know. I did not like the wife when she showed up. I don't know.
Yeah, she needs to stay gone forever.
But
Thanks.
that's besides the point.
I
He
was
is
very
he's a
amused
goddamn
by.
national treasure.
He didn't seem to like her all that much either.
Very true.
I was very amused. I was very amused by that. She was a weird character.
I was awake for the Nathan Fillion cameo.
So good, right?
You know what? We were watching together on the couch, and I was, kind of tired, and that whole interaction happened. And then Angela turns to me, she goes, "Did you hear that?" And I went, "What? The octopus talking?" And she's like, "Yeah, did you hear that?" And I went, "No." So
Yeah, like he wasn't reacting at all, and I was like, "Are you broken?"
Do you need to reboot, sir?
Then when I rewound it, I went, "Oh shit! About time they got that cameo in there, because you knew they were going to shoehorn him in somehow." So yeah, that is still a fantastic show.
Nathan Fillion is my favorite octopus.
There it is. In my travels of looking for more paranormal kind of stuff. Okay, so 2 stories. One, I downloaded this show called Ghost Brothers, which is a ghost hunter show, but the cast is all, I'm going to say, late 20s African American men who, in one of the episodes, looked to the homeowner and went, "You got to get out of this house," which doesn't really instill confidence in the paranormal inspecting kind of thing.
For context, though, it's because every other show, it's like, we're going to do the best that we can, and we're going to make sure that you feel safe and comfortable in your home. And then these guys turn around and like, nah, you're going to die. Like,
Oh no, you got to go. So I watched a couple of episodes of that. But lastly, we watched the first episode of Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, we've been
How did we
watching
forget
that
to
too.
talk about that?
because we've got a lot.
We got a
going
lot going on. I don't know why we haven't watched the second one yet.
I don't either.
Because it's
Because
just a
reasons.
time kind
Yeah.
of thing. I enjoyed it immensely, but I feel I've been like, so with WandaVision, that feeling of not having any idea what's going on and wanting to like figure that Rubik's Cube out, that's not what this is. This is
Absolutely not.
This is a show. This is a superhero show, which
This is standard Marvel fare.
it's great, but there's a lot of questions about, people's places in the world kind of thing. And for the entirety of the week before watching that episode, I didn't watch it as it released. It was a week old. There was that meme going around when you buy Captain
US
America
agent.
from wish.com and they show that picture of the guy. I finally got to see that and I went, oh my, why? That's the stuff of nightmares. Why are we doing it? So
I got some real The Boys vibes, not going to lie.
Oh man, it's episode 2 is so interesting. It's going some places that I didn't necessarily expect it to, which is kind of cool. But that actor is really freaking wild. I'm trying to find this picture right now. There were 5 pictures of him that do not look like the same person.
Oh, good.
It's insane. Like
it was the
it's the
mask
same
and
guy,
stuff. Right.
But it is like every angle. This guy looks like a totally different person. It's really weird.
All I have to say about him is that John Walker ain't shit. Not my Captain America.
Hell
What
yes.
the fuck?
Yeah,
You guys are really going to enjoy episode 2. There's some excellent Sam and Bucky moments.
Nice.
That's the part that I was really hoping for. Now I get the stage setting of their own independent worlds. Like I got that, but I wanted some solid
Oh,
Falcon
you
and
get
Winter
lost.
Soldier.
Yeah, that's episode 2. You're
Yeah,
good.
they just
Right at the get-go.
They
Okay,
didn't get there in episode 1, but they sure did in episode 2 for sure.
That's fine. I was really worried because they showed that Captain America, and I was like, "That's not the ass that represents America.
no,
That's
and
not
then there was a
America's
shot of him
ass."
from behind, and I was like, "That is not America's ass. Like the guy has no ass." Jesus.
I forgot that Falcon had blipped. And then the whole storyline of his family dealing with while he was away and all that stuff, like it was heart wrenching. It's like it's not what I expected this show to be because the title is Falcon and Winter Soldier. I expected, shield throwing and that. Like I expected the first 10 minutes of the episode where he's flying around fighting aerial battles, which they do that so amazingly with his
I know.
like his combat skills with the wings and all that. They do that so well.
What did I say to you? I turned to you and I was like, "I think I have a new favorite Avenger."
Yeah.
Because I'm obsessed with anything that flies and has wings, and like they did so well with the animation, and he's very charismatic, so like he's kind of just winning.
Oh, God, just wait till you watch episode 2, man. There's so much good stuff like that, but there's also the team up of him and Bucky is... I mean, if you remember what they were like in
Winter Soldier.
Winter Soldier, like
No.
those two bicker, and it is wonderful.
So here's the thing about all this is that I'm going to tell you I am struggling with this because I am so out of the loop of the MCU, and it has been such a long time since I've watched any of the movies that I legitimately don't remember half of the things, if not more, that have gone on.
I think you'll be okay.
Yeah, I think you'll ultimately be okay, but I do think that it's worth rewatching them.
I
because
want
it's
to.
It
really
always
fun.
is.
You guys do that. I feel like you've done it multiple times.
Oh yeah.
On our own, we've done it multiple times. Yes.
When I do a rewatch per se, I put on a comic book movie on in the background as I'm doing something else because I can tune in at any point in time and go, yes, I remember where we are, go, and not have to pay attention to it fully. But I feel like with the world that they are broadening in these television shows, that a rewatch may be beneficial, if not necessary, to make the shows more enjoyable.
Do it.
I would definitely recommend it because, I mean, this one's bringing in Zemo, and that's, if you don't remember Civil War, then you're probably not.
You just said a name and I was like,
Wait,
when did they?
wait.
Who?
Please be a secret door. Please be a secret door. Please be a secret door. Yay! Yay! I remember that.
Yeah, and I think
that was Age of Ultron.
the blip is I like the way it's factoring into the plot of Falcon and Winter Soldier, or what do they call it? Falcon and Bucky show on Nerdist. It is shorter and easier to say.
Well, yeah, the Winter Soldier has a very negative connotation. Like it should be
Exactly.
Bucky.
I think that's the point, though. I don't know.
But the motivation of the big bad, or at least the apparent big bad thus far, is that these terrorists like the way it was during the blip. They like the way the world was during the blip, and they want to bring it back to how it was.
Flag Smasher?
Yes.
That's the group that they're going with? The baddie?
So I think that's an interesting concept, because I definitely feel like if that was real, that contingent of people would totally exist and be mad that the people who came back are getting all this aid that they're not, that the people who never left aren't getting. So I think it's an interesting conflict to explore, and I think it would be beneficial to go back and at least to, God damn it, Endgame, so you can see that what the world was like during the blip.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Well, that's all I got. I can't even think of anything else that is. It's kindred spirits. More like I watch a lot of ghost hunting shows. Damn.
And only when we're going to bed, which is really great for my
that
nightmares.
was the second story. Okay, so we were watching paranormal caught on camera.
Oh, no.
Now, normally it takes about It takes Angela about 4.5 minutes for her to fall asleep.
That's on the high end.
Once we hit the bed, I'm up for at least a half hour. She's out in 4 minutes. We were watching this one episode where this gentleman from North Carolina, it's, the paranormal caught on camera is a video that someone shoots, and then that person introduces the video. And then they have these other people talk about the video, apparently, specialists or, wonders in their field. This
hard air quotes on specialists.
This wonderful field. Anywho, this southern dude was talking about he heard something in his house, and then he was by himself and he was videotaping, and then he walked out because he got scared, and then he was trying to get his girlfriend on the phone, and he did, and it about 10
2
minutes.
hours.
No.
He was outside for 2 hours before he went back in.
No, that was the second time. He went back in after 10 minutes, and every cabinet in the kitchen was opened.
Oh, that part. Yeah.
Okay,
No.
and then he pans and he sees that the chairs are on the floor, all the cabinets and drawers are open, and his reaction was nope, and he ran back outside, which made me laugh. Now, the rest of this part of the episode was them re-showing that video that he took. And it's people talking about that. And at one point in time, they screen capped it, and then they zoomed in to a doorway in the back corner that apparently was his daughter's bedroom. And in the top right-hand corner, there's what looks to be a head sticking through, looking out the door from the top of the door frame.
But it's as if something is holding onto the ceiling because the fucking head is upside down and it has black eyes. It's a black-eyed kid. It is this soulless, black-eyed, horrible, atrocious. Fuck you so much right now.
So I see this. She nopes immediately. And because she's now wide awake, and I say, honey, they're going to show that at least 8 or 9 more times, because that's the thing that the show does. And I counted it. It was 11. And every time they re-showed the screen, she cursed at the screen.
Because I would start kind of being okay, I think maybe they're done now.
Boop, and then right on the screen again.
Oh my God. It
was so fun.
bad.
It was so much fun for Evan.
That was
That
not
is
good.
why I watch the paranormal shows, for interactions like that.
That one actually got me. For most of the stuff, I'm yeah, whatever, great special effects, blah blah blah, who cares? But this one, I was no, and no to all of this forever.
So yeah, that's all I got.
That was almost as bad as that freaking Jinn in the mirror. That stupid little hair covering the face, ring child, evil. No, there was hair. There were individual strands. There was fucking hair. It moved.
So what did you watch, honey?
Honestly, I don't really know. I'm back on Great British Baking Show.
Hooray.
You always apologize for that too. Every time I walk into the room, you think I want you to shut that show off, and it's depending on the host.
Because you can't handle the stress.
Well, no, you see, it's not the stress. Who's that one slender, middle-aged woman with the glasses?
Dark-haired one?
Yeah,
Sue.
shorter, dark-haired woman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Or is
Sue.
that Mel?
I thought maybe it's Mel. It's the one who she's got it's actually black hair. She's got the black hair.
It's Mel.
Yeah.
Mel has a
I don't know
problem
why.
with touching. She touches everything, and that really bothers me. As people are trying to bake or fix their things, she's always touching something. And that's that. Other than that, I can watch that show. They make delicious things, and then they get insulted for it. Which
he has
tickles
so
me.
he gets really uncomfortable though, because when it gets toward the end, and if somebody screws up halfway through, and they're the clock is ticking, whatever, he'll be oh, this makes me so uncomfortable. Let me know when it's done. Or they'll be carrying the cakes up at the end for the final bake.
Oh no!
And yeah, that. He's he does actually get uncomfortable for them because he doesn't want anything bad to happen. So his compassion for these people who don't know he exists is quite hilarious to me and very sweet. But he does get genuinely stressed out over it, and so I have to be okay, you can look at the TV now. This is Evan's horror movie. But yeah, so I watched a little bit of that, and oh God, I really haven't watched much else. Anything else that we've been watching, we've kind of watched together. My work schedule has been absolute hell, and I'm doing video editing, so I guess that's the television I've been watching, which doesn't really count for me. It's not as enjoyable as you would think. But yeah.
We did carve out 4.5 hours out of 2 weeks to watch the Snyder Cut too.
We did. Yeah. I'm gonna say that if anything, we've either covered it already or, it was
Don't
Snyder
need
Cut.
to.
Yeah, basically.
Give me
I
a
have no
2-minute
desire.
thought on it. Give me a 2-minute thought on that.
Snyder Cut.
Yeah.
My
2 minutes or
expectations.
less.
Okay, ready?
Okay, hold on.
I got this.
Go.
I can do this in less than 30 seconds. My expectations of anything that DC puts out, especially if Zack Snyder's name is attached to it, is so low that I actually thought that this was acceptable, which makes it borderline good in my book.
Wow.
I, on the other hand, feel the opposite of that. Everything about this was swill, and the benefits at the end of it do not outweigh the horrors that were at the beginning.
If he ever does another movie and puts that much slow-mo in it, I feel like someone should kill him in slow motion.
Oh, he will.
So
And much like this one, the next movie he'll do, the first 15 minutes will be the end of the last movie in slow motion.
Oh my God. The first hour of this movie. We watched 25 minutes and nothing happened.
one actual conversation happened between Batman and Aquaman that led to nothing except a really creepy song singing to this guy walking into water.
Yeah, right. They just
that was
bust out his
weird.
song. Like, there he goes. We should start singing at him. and then
And
sniff
sniffing
his
his
sweater.
clothes.
And what was with, okay, so the edits were very disjointed. Evan and I both observed that while we were watching it. But what was the freaking deal? Like every other character, when they would attack, it would just be whatever the action soundtrack was in the background. And then when Wonder Woman attacked, it wouldn't be like her, like, it was like,
just that-
like, I was
Yeah,
like,
it
what
was
the
just the yodeling noise or whatever.
Yeah.
Every time.
Xena-esque.
Yeah, it was like
And
it was like a poor
all
man's Xena.
throughout the movie.
Yeah.
What the hell?
You should send them that pitch meeting YouTube
Oh,
video you had
definitely,
me watch.
I'll send that your way.
There's one
I've
huge
seen
thing
that.
that bothered the hell out of me because I
15
am
minutes of watching Superman's death scream travel to literally every place on the planet.
once
Oh
you
my
once you know that's going to happen, that's dealable. The fact of the matter is this is a superhero movie, and the fact that a widescreen image was cut
couldn't
to
stop.
4:3 as an afterthought is fucking ridiculous. He did not frame anything properly. Anything. There was a scene where there was a Wonder Woman was looking at stuff on a wall and she was holding a torch and the torch flame flickered in and out of the scene. That's not proper framing, okay? When comes to comic books, there's things called tangent lines. Like if it breaks that's not good. That's a
Well,
comic
that's
book.
art. That's art in general, but yes.
Okay. So his excuse was, I'm doing it this way to make things seem larger. Okay.
Fucking idiot.
Now, I get that. But I saw this meme that totally debunks that because it was a picture of a hole. Okay. And this hole looked massive, but it was a 4x3 picture of
Zack
just
Snyder's
a hole.
massive hole.
Yes. Okay. And the point of perspective is to put something else in that image so that you can compare it. So that when you show this hole next to, let's say, a dollar bill, the hole was the size of a quarter. That does not instill size. You have to have something else to show how big something else is. Okay. So when you put half of Batman on the screen and share it with the shoulder of Wonder Woman as it's doing this weird awkward pan, nobody looks big. Nobody is shown fully. And that just like, I spent so much money on a television that I didn't watch. Like, stop being a pretentious prick.
Well, I mean, if you've edited any of last night's Stone Age Gamer podcast, you heard me talk an awful lot about how he didn't think through anything. That sums up the entirety of the thing. It's like, we're not going to think through any of this stuff. And I was talking to another friend of mine about how the Man of Steel was like it really just laid the groundwork for all this when Pa Kent died.
Yeah,
I want Pa Kent to be dead. Okay, how are we going to do this? I don't know. All right, well, he'll get killed by a tornado. Okay, well, why didn't Clark save him? I don't know. He was standing right there. Why didn't he save him? Because he didn't want to know his secret identity. Right? But his dad's going to die. It's like, okay, these 6 people will know who you are or know that you have superpowers, or your dad's going to die. And we're cool with him just being like, no, I'll die. Have a good day. Everything is just, I want thing to happen. I don't care how it happens. I just want thing to happen.
Okay,
and you
let's
need to
take
trust
that
me
a
because
step-
I'm the director.
Let's take that a step further. In that movie, the main reason, well, one of many reasons, I hated Man of Steel. He killed somebody at the end of the fucking movie. Superman doesn't kill people. Okay, jump to this movie. Everyone slaughters people.
Wonder Woman murdered like 6 people in front of a classroom of small female children.
And then the little girl looks up at her and goes, "Oh my God, I love you."
Can I be like you? A murderer? Yeah.
Like, not only, okay, let's take the murder aside and the one dude that was lying in a pool of his own blood. She destroyed a museum.
The museum that she was trying to stop from blowing up, she blew up.
Mm-hmm.
And she's really relying on that made-up wrist bracelet-y blasty thing that I don't remember from comics.
Because she's tapping into the power of the gods now, honey. Zack Snyder has the power of the gods in his writing.
Well, I mean, did you see Wonder Woman 84? There's plenty of bullshit in that one.
Oh.
We know I hated that. We know.
I just, and what kills me is that I have dozens of animated episodes and animated movies and of DC characters, DC properties that are so good.
But they're not for grown-ups, Evan.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're not scowling and looking at you because they're for grown-ups. They're not like
I
these
heard him grimace
childish,
to me saying that. I'm like,
not these
and you know I
childish
said it
Marvel
just to piss
cartoons.
you
It's for
off.
grown-ups.
What was the name
I'm
of
a
that?
grown-up. I'm a big-ass man, and I want to watch Superman. Wear a black costume. Why? Who the fuck cares?
So, do you know the reason why the black costume?
No, there
Okay,
wasn't one.
No, not in the movie. In the
Well,
comic.
yes, I know the reason for the black costume outside
Okay.
of the movie. I'm saying in the movie,
Yeah.
it was like, oh shit, these guys. All right, I remember who I am now. These guys brought me back to life. This has got to be important. I should go find out what that is.
Wardrobe
But first,
change.
wardrobe change. I'm gonna go to my ship. I'm gonna walk around. And I'm gonna put on a black outfit. Why? Who the fuck cares? Why? Fuck you. That's why. Because I want to be wearing black, so I can show
and
up at
that's-
just the right moment and punch the shit out of Steppenwolf, who never stops moving. Did that not piss you off? He'd be standing
No,
perfectly
no.
still, and these little tiny jiggers all over his body, just going. Tick, 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 tick,
What
tick.
bothered me the most is that
What
I know
shit
that
is that?
that dude had a mustache in the comics. Like, he was a human dude.
With a mustache.
Where'd the
Now
mustache
he's just a
go?
walking letter T.
Goodness gracious! I think there was too much in this. Even like, so
I enjoyed enough of the action that I was able to take something good away from it. But like I said, I have really fucking low standards for anything that Zack Snyder touches.
well, the
But you're
second
not
half
wrong.
of
There
it
were some
was
cool bits in
fine.
there. There were
Yeah.
like these brief moments where you're just like, see, you can do this. This isn't that hard. You can do this.
I assume it's like the second AD or something doing that. That Zach didn't have much to do with those parts. That's what I'm just guessing.
Oh, I'm pretty sure Zach had something to do with every piece of that movie. I mean, he's not incapable of making things look cool. I mean, that was the entire premise of 300. There was no plot there. It was just, let's make
He
something that
literally-
looks neat for a couple hours. And then he
took and
did.
moved
And
the
that
comic.
was it.
He took a comic and moved it. That's what he did. That's
yeah,
what,
and
that's
then
what
when you trust
300
him to do
is.
something other than that, it sucks.
Yes. Anywho.
And people love it. They are like they're loud and they're just like, "Oh, restore the Snyderverse is the most tweeted thing, more tweeted than Avengers Endgame. Therefore, Snyder Cut is better than anything Marvel has ever done. We win. We're the best. DC's the best, and it's for fucking grown-ups. Batman kills people. Superman wears black. Restore the Snyderverse."
For a guy
it's
who
like-
doesn't, for a dude who
No.
made it a point to not use a gun, he's got a lot of fucking machine guns attached to his or like his planes and cars and shit. A lot. The amount of bullets that Batman went through in this movie is I think he had rockets too at one point in time.
His kill count's on par with Hitler.
Like, it was crazy.
Yikes.
Yeah. The movie gets a big... The more I think about it, the angrier I get about it. Because it's not like it can't be done. It's just that they're refusing to do it. And that they gave this to Zack Snyder in the first place. And that there are so many people so very loudly proclaiming. And these are the same people that were just shitting all over the Star Wars movies. Like, you want to talk about movies with problems. Those have got problems. But these people are like, no, fuck this. This is garbage. This is trash. Give me Zack Snyder's Justice League with Superman and Batman. I want leather-clad penises on my screen at all times. None of this Mary Sue bullshit. You want to Mary Sue? Look at fucking Superman. What a Mary Sue, huh? God, people are the worst. And it's just hailing this movie like the second coming. People are talking about that Joker scene was the best interaction Batman and the Joker have ever had in any medium. Fuck you.
Nope. Jared Leto, I'm
Incorrect.
sorry, you fail. You may be super crazy in real life, but it's not translating well to your character as the Joker. You suck.
Yeah,
And-
by no stretch of the... Like, that scene was so... I didn't get it. I mean, I understood
no
what was
point to
happening.
it.
I just didn't understand why I was watching it. Like, why is this here? The movie ended already. Stop.
They have to make sure that you know that there were plans for another thing. That maybe if you voice your opinion enough, that other thing might happen. So
But
let's
that's the
start
problem,
bad-mouthing
is that,
Godzilla
like-
versus Kong to make your point known that Warner Brothers should be paying attention more to Zack Snyder.
But like everything that Snyder did, it was not thought through because by adding that to the end of the movie, you made the entire movie pointless.
Yes, that was my entire... Okay, sorry.
It's like, oh, they lost anyway? Oh, everything ends anyway. Oh, okay, cool. Thanks.
So I will say the only reason I'm not as enraged as you are is because I came to terms a long time ago with the fact that Zack Snyder is walking garbage and that I will never truly be able to appreciate or enjoy anything he makes and that he is incapable of doing good in this world. So
I mean, don't sugarcoat it, honey. Tell me how you truly feel.
no, we all know if you haven't already listened to an episode where I've talked about how much I hate Zack Snyder, guess what? I hate Zack Snyder and he should die in a fire. So my thing is that
35 movies.
I feel that when it comes to Zack Snyder touching this property, he should be charged with assault. But also, the reality is like like I said, my expectations of this were so low that I just don't care anymore. Like I'm like, great. What did you do? All right, you made some moments that I enjoyed and actually wanted to watch. Out of your 4 hours of trash, I got about 45 minutes of enjoyment. That's 45 minutes more than I ever expected to get after seeing you make anything DC related. So kudos. Kudos.
There's nothing that Zack Snyder has done other than so what did he have to do with Suicide Squad?
Oh no, Suicide Squad was the worst.
Okay, because I'm trying to think.
It was just because it was his universe.
Okay,
so
so
he was
they're
like the
giving him
Kevin
credits.
Feige character, you know.
Giving him credits on these things. Like, I don't see anything else on his list that is worthy of speaking about.
Okay, so didn't he work on 300 and Sucker Punch?
300.
He directed 300. That's why people know who he is.
That's
Right.
it. But that's it.
So
300
his
and Sucker Punch.
So
Dawn of
him-
the Dead.
Yeah, okay, so he's worked on movies that I have liked, but the thing is, like,
Oh, no.
I'm talking about his stuff in relation to DC. Like, this is my problem with him having contact with the DC universe. Outside of the context of this conversation, I'm like, meh, Zack Snyder, you're not my favorite. You kind of suck. But when it comes to DC, that's where I'm like, you just did everything wrong, and now people are praising you for it, and you're the worst.
Failing upwards. Mm-hmm. He did do Legend of the Guardians, the Owls of Ga'Hoole.
Yeah, I don't care. That's not a DC property. He's still
watched
failing
that.
upwards to the point where he broke gravity. Physics don't apply to Zack Snyder.
All right.
All right, we should stop this or we're just going to keep doing this all night. And we have some great stuff to talk about in the second half.
do.
Yeah, we have good things to talk about.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear you say that. All right, everybody, we'll stick around for a little bit. We're going to do some commercials. When we come back, we're going to talk about Mystery Science Theater 3000. You're listening to this week's episode from Geekade.com. Stick around.
We've got commercial side.
And now, here's a quick look at some of the other original content available now from our partners and Geekade.com.
First up, Matt Ramo. Matt Much. What more do you need? What more could you possibly want? Well, how about those two gentlemen playing D&D with some friends live for your entertainment and theirs? On the Geekade Twitch channel, these fine folks have been embarking on an extraordinarily long campaign that's taken them on many strange and hysterical adventures. Will they finish it this week? Probably not. But there's only one way to find out for sure. Tune into twitch.tv/geekade to watch the world's longest running one-shot this Saturday, April 3rd at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Fantastic. One take. That's what I like. Next, is there anything more enjoyable in life than watching Dean the Vestlord DeFalco be frustrated? Kris, from this very podcast, created
Oh, not one take for you.
Well, the little pink thing, Kris is moving his cursor around and it vanished.
That's not me.
That's Karen.
Don't you blame me.
Kris, from this very podcast, created an entire game's worth of levels in Super Mario Maker 2. An entire game's worth? Holy crap, I only thought you did a level or two. For Super Mario Maker 2 for the Nintendo Switch. And they are, let's say, difficult. Especially if you're not good at platformers, like our friend Dean is. Tune into twitch.tv/vest_lord and watch Dean struggle to complete Kris's Mario World. He's on World 8, but can he do it? Not without your help, he can't.
He's been stuck on the same level for like 3 days.
And how many did you add? What's a game's worth out of 8? Like
I think there's
42. Please say something like that.
Oh, there's like 6 or 7 levels per world. So, and I filled 8 worlds. So,
Nice.
Yeah, I mean a whole game.
That's amazing. Also, I can't wait. That's got to be so great to watch him play. He must be so furious all the time.
Oh, it's
There's
great.
nothing better in this world.
I've really been enjoying it.
It's a struggle because he wants to show it to John, but it's just not kid friendly. Like John would get such a kick out of watching it if he could.
I have definitely stumbled into his stream a couple of times in the middle of him talking trash about me and me making these levels. And then him immediately notice I'm there and be like, look, I'm sorry. I'm just not very good at this. The levels are good. I'm just not good. And then like other people on the stream will be like, well, I just loaded up this level and I got farther than you in about 15 minutes. So you suck.
Yes.
Good times.
Good times indeed.
Okay. Finally, on an all-new episode of the Stone Age Gamer podcast, Dan and Kris hit up their usual monthly topic, the 10, 20, 30, 40. Each month, they look back at notable releases from the previous month 10, 20, 30, and 40 years ago. This time around, they covered stuff like video pinball for the Atari 2600, the arcade game Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Turtles in Time, Dance Dance Revolution for PlayStation, and more. Dan also painted his house, which, if you know these guys, means there was lots of unnecessary landscaping and chocolate milk discussion. Don't miss the Stone Age Gamer podcast, episode 352, Overtly Racist Bear.
For all this great content and more from us and our partners, be sure to keep your eyes on Geekade.com. And we're back, where we are ready to ask the question, what is it about the gates of hell that compels people to wander into them?
Smuckers.
It's a Smucker's raspberry jam. Tastes like real fruit. Oh my goodness. The Chief McCloud bit came up in conversation somewhere, and that's when I just decided, okay, we're going to watch Pod People, because this is one of my favorite pieces of television ever. All right, so I have a weird history with Mystery Science Theater. I I love video games, as you may or may not know.
I just put something together.
What's that?
Okay. Finish your story, because something happened to us while we were watching this, and it'll ring true if you fully explain everything about Mystery Science Theater. Go.
Okay. So for me personally, I way back in the old days, we didn't really have a home computer, because that wasn't the most common thing in the world when I was a little kid, right? Mm-hmm. And then as we got a little bit older, my friends had home computers, but we didn't have a PC. My dad had like the original Macintosh from way back when I was really little, and eventually he brought home a PC, and it came with a handful of games. And then like a month or two later, he got a disc from somebody at work that had the original Doom on it.
Nice.
And he was like, Kris, you got to see this game, which was a weird thing. Which was a weird thing for my dad to say, because he didn't care about video games, but he also loves ultra violence, like ridiculous stuff, just like me. If it's completely ridiculous, comedic, over the top violence, there's just something about it. And he loaded up Doom because somebody at work gave it to him, and he thought it was hilarious. And I immediately became just obsessed with the original Doom. Such an amazing game. And eventually, a friend of mine gave me this CD add-on that had all these weird modifications for Doom. And he gave it to me because one of the modifications was Army of Darkness Doom, where they replaced a bunch of sound effects from the game with voice clips from Army of Darkness, which I thought was hilarious. One of the other files that was on there was something called MST Doom, and I didn't understand any of it, but every single thing made me laugh hysterically. Like, you'd pick up a power-up and they'd go, Mitchell! And I just would start laughing. There were just these really funny phrases, and I had no idea where they came from. Fast forward a year or two, we're in, a Blockbuster Video, looking for something to rent, and I found the Mystery Science Theater 3000 section of VHS tapes, and I picked up Pod People.
And he hasn't left since.
And that was the first proper exposure to Mystery Science Theater, and there were voiceovers from there that I recognized from MST Doom, and I was like, oh my god, MST is Mystery Science Theater. This is amazing. And so then I kept seeking out more and more episodes after that. But Mystery Science Theater 3000 was introduced to me via this episode that I found on VHS in a Blockbuster Video. And if you've never seen the show before, it's the story of Joel Robinson, who used to work at Gizmonic Industries as a janitor, and he gets launched into space and is tortured by two mad scientists to watch bad movies so they can monitor his mind. And when he eventually goes crazy, unleash him on an unwitting public and take over the world. The plot doesn't actually make any kind of sense, which is fine, because as the theme song says, it's just a show. I should really just relax. He can't control where the movies begin or end because he used the parts that allowed him to do that to build his robot friends, Crow T. Robot, Tom Servo, Cambot, and Gypsy. And that's the plot of Mystery Science Theater. And so I like this series the most because the Joel era in particular, or before it went to Comedy Central, back when the Mad Scientists were still on, in particular with Trace Beaulieu and Frank Conniff as Dr. Forrester and TV's Frank, because I think the host segments are actually funny. Mm-hmm. Later on, when it was on on Sci-Fi Network, the host segments were occasionally funny, but I didn't really enjoy them much. I didn't think the stuff with Pearl and Bobo and Brain Guy was funny most of the time. I just really still loved the riffing of the movies, but the host segments just didn't really catch me. I love these old host segments. They're so cheesy and so stupid, but in a kind of endearing and sort of funny way. So, I mean, I'll gush about this all night long, but I'm very curious what you guys all thought of it. I know Karen had seen it before, and she fell asleep in the middle of it.
I did finish watching it later, and this is no knock on the movie the night we chose to watch it. we left the house as a family 3 separate times that day, which is like more times than we've left the house as a family the entire year previous.
Damn.
Oh, dang.
So it was just an exhausting day, and the movies have the, old movie sound quality to them that is just very gently works on your subconscious to make you want to go to sleep. So I was just exhausted, and I've also seen this before a bunch of times. So as much as it is funny, I don't know.
She knows it.
I know it.
Yeah. And I'll definitely attest to the whole Mystery Science Theater is my happy place. Old Joel era Mystery Science Theater is what I put on to make myself fall asleep when I can't sleep. That or like Tron or old video game commercials. Like this show, it calms me in a wonderful way. That old crappy science fiction movie only old crappy science fiction movies can.
And that's exactly what I'm talking about, because you told me, and I just literally remembered that as we were starting to talk about this, that is your, I watch Ghost Hunters to go to sleep, or that this was your go to sleep thing. And Angela and I were sitting on the couch today watching it midday, and I started to nod out, and then I would wake up, and then she would start to nod out. I don't know.
In our defense, though, I mean, I have about 5 hours of sleep under my belt right now, and I am not accustomed to this anymore.
Yeah. I mean, I may be topping out at 6, but the fact is that I think there might be something in the soundtrack that's hidden underneath layers of some sort that just soothes the mind.
It's fucking mind control. Let's be real, okay?
It's the sound of old lo-fi movies. There's something nostalgically calming about it. There's this hiss that goes through the whole thing.
Yes.
So, all right. I love Mystery Science Theater. I mean, every time I watch it, I remember why I like it, or why I'm such a fan of it. The one thing I don't like about this, especially for this show, is that there are so many lines to choose from for the beginning. I never take notes on what I'm going to say at the beginning, but I knew I had to get a pad of paper because the intro, my first one that I wrote down was la la la, because that's 4 seconds into the episode.
No, he's not wrong, though. I mean, I did the same thing. It was the first quote I wrote down was "between a rock and a hard planet," and I died. I mean, I literally couldn't stop laughing for he almost paused the movie. And I was like, I can't.
ABC movie of the week. But even before that, when it's just looking at the opening credits, Farouk Alatan. I went to school with Farouk Alatan.
And some of them sound like they could be recycled jokes, kind of thing. Like if you're watching the credits, hey, it's that guy or whatnot. But I can't. There was snap an ankle and die of exposure. That was straight up in reference to the video that they were watching. It doesn't even matter what the movie was horrible. Horrible.
Oh my God, it's really bad.
It's bad.
It starts off with a showing you a character that looks like the Swamp Thing from the movie The Swamp Thing, and then this anteater-esque alien.
The opening credits was a different movie. It had nothing to do with the rest of the movie. It was, and there's a bunch of movies from this era that they'll watch where that happens. I can think of at least 2 other ones just off the top of my head. I mean, Cave Dwellers was one of them, where it's just the opening of the movie is just, it's this other movie for some reason playing over the credits.
Yeah, and I love the fact that they acknowledge that so much. This is movie A, this is movie B. I don't even know what movie this is anymore. I was like, yeah, right? Thank you.
This is movie D.
For dumb.
Yes.
See, movie A is... Because, right, you start off with the poachers in the woods, with the guy from the Renaissance Festival.
Poaching?
They're doing
They're
nightingale's
poaching
eggs was what they
eggs.
first got, was nightingale's eggs. And then the dude wanders in the cave and just starts beating up the eggs. What is he, an LA cop?
It's damn. Damn.
That was so harsh.
So good, though.
But there's so many other really great visual gags, like when they show the monster walking through the woods from the first person and the twigs keep brushing up against the camera and they're all like waving their hands. They're like, ah!
So I actually stopped one of these and rewound it to show Angela, because there was a scene where the poachers were standing and like setting up camp
It's
or
gonna
moving
push
camp.
him over.
And he does that sign, and I go, "Did you see that?" And she goes, "No." I go, "Look behind him," and I replayed it. Like, that is a true visual gag for just this movie. It's like there's very little of it recycled, which is amazing how they keep coming up with this stuff.
I did actually laugh, though. The thing with the branches, like, I did put a note on that just because I was like, this is funny. Like, this is something I would do. Like, I felt that. I was like, yes, this speaks to me. And that was great, because I didn't expect the silhouettes to actually interact as much with the movie. Because I've only really seen MST3K in passing. Like, it was
You've
Oh,
done
in the
more
background.
Rifftrax, right?
I'm more of the Rifftrax, yeah. But like,
Yeah.
but I had seen this stuff. Like, I knew what it was because, like, when I was in high school, I had a friend who, her older sister would put this on in the background for like small gatherings, and it was just always on, and we were all hanging out together. So I would see it every now and then, and I just have like these moments, and somebody explained it, and I was like, oh, that's funny, ha ha ha. Every now and then I'd get a quote and be like, I don't know most of these references, that's fine. But this, I guess I needed to just mature a little bit to be able to appreciate this. I don't know, because this thing, I mean, this had me laughing pretty hard.
I was so proud of her, because every time he said McLeod, she chuckled.
I did.
Because
I
it's
chuckled
always
too.
funny.
That's funny, because every time he said McLeod, I went, McLeod! Because I've seen it, like, I don't know, 700 times.
Haha, levity. Like,
And they start doing, where they start saying other things like, good night, John Boy. Good night, Jody. Good night, Chief. Good night, McLeod.
And I loved, like, I couldn't stop laughing when they were like, that sounded like Laura leaping to her death. Like, it's just, and the way they,
Hey,
like,
it's
pick
Norm
her.
Abrams getting killed by a giant chicken. Hey, did you hear that? Sound like Norm Abrams getting killed by a giant chicken.
And the way that they just, like, they'd be, don't tell me, and then he'd be like, I'm telling you, you know, and the way that, like, even in the movie itself, because it's so stupid and ridiculous, like, they pick up Laura and they're like flinging her body around, and they're
Quick, move her spine around a lot.
like, all of this commentary. The thing that I have to ask, though, because I don't know how they do this, like, so listeners, Kris actually sent Evan and I a list of a breakdown of some of the references from this episode, and I was very pleased, because going through it, I actually started counting. I got a decent number more than I really thought I was going to. But how? Like, I don't know how they have this many
Hours and
obscure...
hours of tireless rewatching of this movie.
But then,
This is
Yeah,
not
but-
live.
So the process is that they sit down and watch the movie, and they just come up with jokes, and then they watch it again and come up with more jokes, and they keep coming up with them, and then they choose what works best with each bit, and then they have a script, and then they go sit in a mock-up of the theater where Joel sits in a chair, and then Kevin Murphy sits underneath with Servo, and Trace Beaulieu sits on the other side with Crow, and they do the puppeteering, and they read the scripts along with the movie that they just had watched over and over and over again, and the writers all came up with all the jokes, and that's how they do it.
But
They
they're-
just watch it over and over again.
their jokes and references are so obscure. Like, the only thing I've ever seen that even remotely comes close to that was, like, if you've ever seen Gilmore Girls, like, they would make so many pop culture references your fucking head would spin.
Yeah.
And these guys, the way they do it, like, I knew that it was scripted, but to even think, like, let's make a joke about blah, and like the references that they would bring up, I just don't know how they come up with that shit. I've never been funny, but, like, this is next level. This is seriously like sorcery.
There's a part
Yeah,
of
it's a writer's room, because it's not just those three of them. There were a handful of other writers, and Mike, who eventually took over for Joel, he was a head writer, and both the Mad Scientists and Jim Mallon and pretty much everybody involved would just come up with jokes, and they all had different backgrounds. They all had different things to reference, and because it started off on like cable access, it was never a big deal. It had this like super low budget, and it was space filler. Networks liked it because it took up a lot of time, and so they didn't really have anyone watching them. So they're like, if someone comes up with something we think is funny, then let's put it in, because who's going to stop us? Because nobody's paying attention.
It's one of those rare, beautiful things of like, you know, if no one is paying attention to what you're doing, and you can do whatever you want, and you come up with something just amazing. Same way that the state is.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was like, honestly,
I'm
comedy
glad that you
gold.
enjoyed it as much as you did. I felt that it was iffy. There's a strong possibility of not being someone's cup of tea.
Yeah,
The references are extremely dated because they're written by adults in the 90s who are like playing off of things that they grew up on in the 70s that are now like, it feels like a lifetime ago.
But they had
And-
like, they referenced things like fucking Arnold Schwarzenegger in Commando. I like you, Tommy. I'll kill you last. Like, I knew that line. I love Schwarzenegger. Like, I knew that line. And then the thing when they're talking about like the fucking, oh my God, Sledgehammer. Like, and then the best
that music video.
I know. So two throwbacks for this with me. So Sledgehammer is one of the few music videos that I know in life, because I know very, very few music videos, and most of them are OK Go. So the reason that I know OK Go in the first place and this Sledgehammer video is because I used to work at a Harley Davidson dealership, and they would have giant flat screen TVs, and they mail you a DVD, and you have the same music videos cycling over and over and over again all day, every day, forever, until you want to kill yourself. But this was one of the songs. And then when you gave us this list, and I was like, oh, I didn't realize that this was like a tidbit that they actually acknowledged this song. But then I saw that it's the fucking stop motion animation was done by Nick Park, and I was like, I loved Wallace and Gromit. Like, it's just these little tie-ins that fucking blow my mind. And then I had mentioned this a little bit at the beginning before we actually started recording, but the Jeep reference was just perfect for me because first of all, I make jokes about that stuff all the time because I have a family that loves to drive Jeeps, but the samurai reference just killed me because I actually did flip a Jeep at one point. It was a Jeep Cherokee, but it was still the fact that I literally like did roll over in my Jeep, which is the joke with that car.
They're gonna die.
And I was just like, oh my God. But like, yeah, these references are fucking amazing. They're amazing. I love it.
Of course, right before that, you get the smash cut to the deer, and they just immediately, Bambi, humans are basically good.
I like the callbacks that they kept doing. Like they must have said the name Tommy like 427 times in this movie, and they referenced the Who rock opera Tommy 427 times. Can you hear me, Tommy? Can you hear me? Like,
Can you feel me near you? And I mean, like, I didn't get a lot of the actual reasoning behind a lot of the references when I saw this for the first time. Like, I've never seen the whole Chief McCloud thing before, but it's just funny. Like, there's just something inherently amusing about hearing them just keep referring back to Chief McCloud. Like, that's just funny.
Yes.
there were two that really got me, and they were so pass by kind of thing. It was when the kid brings the egg into bed, and he's like, "Oh, he's trying to hatch the egg. What is he, Horton?" Like that made me laugh because Horton is a Who. And later on, there was a scene where that curmudgeonly guy that wants to shoot everything, and I want to say it was Tommy, were fighting over the phone not working, and then the guy
Give me
grabbed
that. I'll show you how to use a prop phone.
That was so funny to me.
Were you able to
Because
get
it
to the
did
cops?
same
No,
exact
prop
thing.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that's some pretty high grade stuff. This is my second favorite episode of this series,
And the first one is
Mitchell.
that's of course Mitchell.
Okay.
One of these days, I'll make you guys watch Mitchell, which is a freaking masterpiece. But
It's really something.
it really is something else. But
I
Zestfully
propose
dead.
that at some point. Oh my god, that was
Now I'm just scrolling
through this list. I know it's hard not to.
boldly backing away from where no man has gone before.
and all the references to like new wave music was just
Oh my god, perfect, on point.
I know what you're thinking, Tommy. Did mommy fire 6 shots or only 5?
Some would say in regard to music, they were really on key. Not sorry.
Can you carry moonbeams home in a jar?
Trumpy, you can do stupid things. God, when they recreate that bit during the host segment.
Yes. The song that they
stinks.
Roll down. Like, I seriously, if you're listening to this and you haven't seen this episode, you've got to watch it because it's just one of those movies that's so baffling that it got put together in the first place. Like, do you think the microphone's picking up their dancing? Like, one of my favorite lines comes after that whole scene where they said, do you think the weather's going to hold up? No, I think it's just going to stop. It's such a good joke.
And you see, like, that's the thing. Like, if you always want to have that group of people that you can get together with and sit down and watch a really bad movie and be like, the goal is to be able to do this.
Yeah.
And listen, no matter how it seems, yes, we are all witty people, but this cast and crew take it to a whole nother level. Like, they are so talented, and the speed, of course, it comes from trial and error and watching this over and over again. But you don't necessarily feel that as you're watching this show.
And if you're a person who likes one-liners, this is the only thing you should ever watch. I mean, really and truly, the number of jokes that come out of this and the quotability.
So people are being methodically killed off by banana splits.
Like it's just
so good.
There are things, and also the fact that they do reference so many things and that there are breakdowns of those references. Honestly, to me, it adds a level of depth that just makes it even better. I really, I could definitely watch this again, and I do propose that if we're going to watch another one of these, I would really like to do it as a celebration of the end of the pandemic times, where we get to do a trip and somebody visits somebody and we all watch it together.
Oh, I would love that. So I used to have a regular Mystery Science Theater night with some friends of mine when I lived in North Jersey, and it made me so happy. Every week or so, we'd get together and play some video games, and then throw on a Mystery Science Theater, and it was heaven.
I was a part of some of your Rifftrax evenings as well.
Those were
like
the
modernized cousin of this.
Yeah, so after Mystery Science Theater eventually ended on Comedy Central, because not Comedy Central. Like after Comedy Central, it went over to Sci-Fi Channel, and they did some weird stuff on Sci-Fi where they insisted that the show have a through-line plot, and so that's why we got a bunch of the weird things in the host segments. And eventually, the show got canceled with the last episode being Diabolic, which was a really good episode. And the people who did the show kind of splintered off, right? So around after Mitchell, Joel, the creator of the show, left the show because there was some sort of tension between him and the head writer Mike Nelson, who wound up taking over for him after he left the show. And then eventually the two mad scientists left, and other writers got promoted to on-screen talent, and they brought in people like Bill Corbett to replace Crow's voice. And the show's got a weird history, but the original crew, the guy who was only on the first season, J. Elvis Weinstein, who played Larry, Dr. Forrester's original assistant, Frank Conniff, who played TV's Frank, Trace Beaulieu, who was the original Crow and Dr. Forrester, Joel Hodgson, who was Joel Robinson, and I think Mary Jo Pehl was there too, who was actually from the later Sci-Fi episodes. They gathered together and did something called Cinematic Titanic, which was very similar to Mystery Science Theater, where you saw their silhouettes in front of the movie, and so they did some visual gags with it too, and they did a whole live show thing, which was amazing. And then Mike, Bill, and Kevin, who were the host Mike Nelson, and then Bill Corbett and Kevin Murphy, who were Tom Servo and Crow, they went off and did their own thing, which was Rifftrax, where they'd record their own a commentary that you would play over the movie that you watched. Like when it first started out, I don't even know how it works anymore because technology has changed so much, but they'd have to you'd put in your DVD and they would tell you when to press play so that it lined up with the commentary lined up with the movie. It was pretty ingenious, but so that's kind of how all this stuff went. And then a few years ago, Mystery Science Theater got revived with Joel and then a new cast, and that stuck around on Netflix for a bit, and that has since been canceled. And theoretically, it's going to carry on in some way, shape, or form outside of live shows, but I haven't even finished watching all the Netflix ones yet because I don't get a lot of time to sit down and watch a 90-minute episode of Mystery Science Theater.
Yeah, that's the only, downside is that this is an investment nowadays. Like, this is not bite size. This is, you're in essence watching an hour and a half movie that is not good. The movie itself, they're never good movies, ever. Well, their interactions make it so much more enjoyable.
And I will say, if anyone is looking to try out Rifftrax, please start with the Twilight films.
Oh my God.
Twilight was great, and there were a lot of really good Rifftrax. It's really just classics.
Hello, ladies.
Ladies.
Line.
Yeah, the Rifftrax, I do know for a fact that at least with the first Twilight, actually all of the Twilight films, you can obtain them with the Rifftrax commentary worked in as part of the audio. You don't have to sync anything up. It's just a file that you can get. Like a complete film with the commentary. So it's absolutely amazing, and I highly recommend. I had known that there was some connection to MST3K, but I had not realized how strong of a connection.
Oh yeah, they were just the guys who did Mystery Science Theater.
Yeah, I thought they were like super fanboys or something. I didn't realize they were the same crew essentially that was doing it in the first place. So that was really cool because when I heard their voices today, I was like, I know this.
Well, it's the only voice that you would know from Rifftrax would have been Kevin Murphy because he was Tom Servo for almost the entire run. But then Bill Corbett didn't take over until Trace Beaulieu left for Crow, and Mike replaced Joel when he left. Mm-hmm. But yeah, but
I that voice, yep.
And in fact, the first episode with Mike and the last episode with Joel was Mitchell. That was where Joel left.
I'm kind of
favorite episode.
A little bit sad.
It's magical. Anyway, I'm glad you guys liked this. I can't wait to do more of it, and I think we should wrap things up because it's getting late and I'm tired.
Sounds like a plan.
That's fair.
All right. Start playing Clown in the Sky, please.
Okay.
Good night, Servo. Good night, Joel. Good night, Crow. You're not my real father. What do you think, Sears? It stinks. One of the most perfect endings. And the end credits music, the love theme from Mystery Science Theater that they play at the end of every episode. I just love it. Anyway, this week's episode isn't filmed before a live studio audience, but it is fueled by feedback from listeners like you, and you can get in touch with us in a multitude of ways. We have an official Geekade Discord where there's an entire This Week's Episode channel dedicated to all things TV talk. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram through the official Geekade channels or the more specific Twepcast accounts. And of course, the four of us can be found in various ways. I'm available on Twitter at Geekade Kris, and you can read my work at StoneAgeGamer.com and in the pages of Nintendo Force magazine. Karen, where can people find you?
On Twitter at Twitter and Instagram. No, you threw me off by rewriting the script.
We're all learning. We're all hearing this for the first time together.
I personally am on Twitter at shoot_the_moon, and you can find my fun feminist and fandom fiber art at STM Stitches on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and Etsy.
Angie, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitch, which if you listen to our show, you should be hearing the commercials. So it's twitch.tv/LaraCraft13, or you can stalk me on Instagram at A4Not.
And Evan, where can people find you?
All the social media is at Geekade_Evan.
If you need to know more about the shows we discussed tonight or what we'll be watching in the future, have a look at our show notes. And if you have any questions at all, we can always be reached at mail@geekade.com. Just include the words of this week's episode in the subject line so we know who you're trying to reach. This show is available anywhere fine podcasts are sold, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, YouTube, and more. And wherever you decide to listen, please like, comment, subscribe, and leave reviews, because any and all feedback is welcome and appreciated. Again, as always, keep your eyes on geekade.com for more fresh, original content. So, who's next?
I thought it was me.
I
think you're right.
It is you.
Okay. All I
So,
remember
Angie,
is I
what's
go
our
after
homework?
Kris. Okay, our homework. This is actually fun because this is not something I'm familiar with. This was a listener request. So, yeah. I don't know how to pronounce this, but I'm going to try. So the show is The Expanse, Season 1, Episode 1. The episode title, we will hopefully know how to pronounce at the end of the episode, but for now, I'm going to call it Dulcinea? Dulcinea? Dulcinea. Dolce & Gabbana. I don't know. It's
Dolce de leche.
It's a reference to the Man of La Mancha.
Oh, cool. I know nothing about that, so yay for
Well,
being
maybe
uneducated.
we'll see if it's in there.
Okay. But yeah, that's the pick, and if it sucks, we can all blame my listener friend named Justin.
Well,
Thanks
okay,
a
then.
lot, Justin.
Yeah, Justin.
Well, that's going to be it from us. Thanks, everybody, for listening. I'm Kris.
Okay.
McLeod.
She wants to do the McLeod. That's okay. You could say it.
I'm Angie.
Creamy Living Chocolate Center.
Good night. Little potatoes.
Well, guys, looks like it's time to pack it all in again.
We are the stuff dreams are made of.
Oh, that's beautiful, Crow. Shakespeare?
No, Burma Shave.
Oh, well, huh?
You know, guys, it always hurts to close it all up. Strike the set, wipe off the grease paint, napkin up the blood and entrails, and move on to another town.
Uh-oh. I smell a song.
Tell me, where does all the magic go when the curtain falls to end the show? Do the clowns always cry when they pack up the paper sky? When the champagne is being poured and the lock is on the old stage door, will there still be a clown in the sky for me? Don't worry, buddy. There'll be other experiments.
You really think so, mister?
Yeah, take a verse. It'll cheer you out.
Okay. When the Harlequin is on the pad and the whiskey haze surrounds his head, William Holden's coming over and he's got to flip the
If you don't stop doing your Anthony Newley, I'm going to throw you against the wall.
He'll do it, too.
Will there still be a clown in the sky?
Help us out, Crow.
Still be a clown in the sky.
Take it home, Joel.
Tell me, where is that clown in the sky for me?
Oh,
I love you, Tom Servo.
I love you, Joel.
I love you, Crow.
You're not my real father.
What do you think, sirs?
It stinks.
And this concludes our broadcast day.